All right. Well, good evening, adventurers, and welcome to Goodberry Cafe. Goodberry Cafe is that little warm cafe where everyone is welcome to come in and pull up a chair. And today we're serving up a cup of inspiration, so I hope you'll come in and stay a while. My name is Jem, and I'll be your host. For anyone who's new, I'm apologizing for all the technical difficulties we had today, but I did just want to explain what we do here. So, Goodberry Cafe is an interview show where I'll be chatting with guests who have a variety of different interests, geeky, nerdy, artistic, hobbies and passions about the things that they do, the things that they love, the things that they create, and the communities that they're a part of, and how all of those things affect them and others positively. So, the show is a warm, safe, inviting space where we invite you, our listeners, to learn about these various hobbies and activities and maybe just find a new adventure for you to try out yourself. So, we're lucky because today is another super special episode as we get to dive in with our second cast member on the show, Dom, who plays the beloved Gormrog on our actual play D&D show, Forging Fates. So if you haven't yet already checked it out, Forging Fates is every other Monday on this channel at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. So every Monday when we're not hosting Goodberry Cafe. So today we're going to talk a little bit about Dom's hobbies, his relationship with D&D, and his experience playing with us so far on Forging Fates. But before we get started, I did just want to thank Silver King for being our Patreon supporter this month. And if you like what you see here, be sure to follow, subscribe, check out our Patreon, check out our merch. We got a whole bunch of stuff. So, Dom, after all of those technical issues, thank you so much for joining us today, and thanks for your patience. Before we
Thank
get
you
in,
for having me.
of course, before we get into the questions, though, would you mind introducing yourself to and telling the viewers a little bit about you?
Oh, sure. My name is Damiano. I am the half-orc monk Gormrog for our Forging Fate stream. I like cute, fuzzy things, art, and long walks on the beach during sunset. I'm not anything nearly as immense as the other guests you've had on, but I am a big fan and have seen every episode of Goodberry Cafe.
And now you are the featured guest. So thank you so much, Dom. I'm so excited to learn more about you today. And I'm so happy you're willing to join me. So,
Of course.
getting right into it, uh, I know you through playing Forging Fates with you. So let's start by talking about Dungeons and Dragons. When did you first start playing D&D, and what brought you into that hobby?
Was 80 million years ago. No, I was, oh gosh, I must have been in middle school or early high school, one of those. A group of friends had said, "Hey, do you want to play Dungeons and Dragons?" And I said, "I have no idea what you're talking about. Let's do it." So a whole bunch of young teenage boys in somebody's parents' basement, with snacks and sodas and papers that we didn't really understand start playing this game. And I had no idea what I was doing. And I had maybe 3 sessions with them, and I fell in love with it.
What was
But
your.
after that,
Go
hmm,
for it. Yeah, keep going. I want to hear
I
more.
was going to say, after that, I didn't play for years. We fell off with it, and I forgot about it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if it's not in front of me, I lose it. Um, and it wasn't until um, I don't know if you remember from last week, we had a special guest with us, GPS in the chat. I don't know if he's here now, but hi if you are. Uh, he was actually leading a game at a local game shop that included my brother and my father. Um, and oh man, they included my stepmother eventually. And then that wound up enveloping me as well. And that just led to Um, I think we had 9 people at a table,
Wow, that's a lot.
and we were playing weekly, and it was amazing. Um, yeah,
Getting 9 people's schedules weekly seems like an impossible task. How was it playing with that many people?
it was tough. There were a lot of personalities, not all of them meshed. Um, we lost a couple people along the way, um, as you do with um, that sort of group size. Um, and eventually the game fell off because one of our members moved, and another of our members had a baby, and um, then COVID hit, and it was just isolation. And we stay in touch. We make sure to reach out to everybody and check in, but the game just fell to the side because life was more important.
Mm-hmm. Do you think there's any chance of it coming back, even with part of
I
the
would
group?
it Tony, Sergey, George, hit me up. Let's do it. We'll do it over Zoom, Discord, whatever you want. I miss you guys so much.
Aw. Yeah, there's so many different
And yeah, I
options.
guess my family too, but I see them.
There's so many different ways to play. It doesn't always have to be in person.
Yeah, and I love that we get to play together, you being on the opposite end of America, um, and we get to play together every other week. I think it's fantastic what technology has done for this community.
Mm-hmm. You said that big game that you were a part of, it had your family in it too.
Hmm.
Was your family
Yeah,
into D&D before you were into it, or
oh
how did that?
yeah. My dad played when he was a kid. My brother had friends that he played with, and we actually have a family game that we do on Sundays. Um, it's my stepmom and my dad, me, my brother, and my brother's boyfriend. And my brother and my stepmother actually trade off who's DM.
Cool.
And we play 2 different campaigns. It's a lot of fun.
That's awesome. How do you get confused between the two campaigns?
Um, yeah, yeah. I play a warlock in one and a wizard in another, and they're very different campaigns. But when life happens and we have to take weeks off, um, like last week, I was away and we didn't play. So next week, I have no idea who's going to be the DM, which character I'm going to be. Um, but that's part of why I take notes like I do. Um, like I know you've seen my notes for our game. It's extensive, and the same is true for my brother's game and my stepmother's game. It's I know everything that's happened so far. Um, the only complication is that with my brother's game, I'm on like my third character. So while I know everything that's happened, my character knows like that much.
Yeah. Oh no. When
But
so you that your character in that game just started recently then? Your third
hmm,
character?
yeah,
Oh no.
yeah, he's Charlie, CD-17. He's a Warforged Graviturgy wizard. In like the session before last, he opened up a black hole just because he can, and that's terrifying.
What level are you playing at?
I don't remember. 8,
Oh, okay.
40, who knows?
Yeah.
um, no, I think we're at 8.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. I love the idea of a family D&D game. I feel like that's such a fun way
Yeah,
to play with your family.
it
So,
is. And go ahead.
oh no, keep going. I want to hear more.
Um, no, it's just my family is much more extensive than that group of 5, but um, like I'm one of 5 kids. I've got my dad and my stepmom. I've also got my mom. Um, but like Oh, now GPS joins the chat now that I've just talked about him
Oh,
for
yay. Hi,
20 minutes.
GPS.
um, no, while I'm one of five kids under three parents, it's important that I spend time with my family, and I do it every chance I get, but I also don't get very many chances. So making a regular weekly game has been a great way to stay in touch with them.
It's so fun. Is your family local?
Most of them are. Most of them are on Long Island in New York, which is where I grew up. My sister, on the other hand, has a tendency to go where her life takes her. And at one point, she was in Germany. At one point, she was in Alaska. Currently, she's in New York visiting, but I believe she's going to another state to pursue school. Um, and she's honestly been an inspiration because even though I'm the older brother, she is chasing her dreams and pursuing her interests, and she never lets anything stop her. And she's just wonderful.
Adventure is out there.
Hmm.
And thanks, GPS, for the bits. So, when you first started playing, what edition were you playing when you were in school?
3.5. Yeah, we started with 3.5, and I was a half orc barbarian uh, because I didn't know anything about the game and I just wanted to hit stuff. That was the whole thing. I wanted to be dumb and hit stuff. And with my family game, years later, uh, I revived that character and I fleshed him out, and that was Thorax the Impaler. And you could be like, Thorax? That isn't that part of a bug? No, I spell it THOR hyphen AXE. It's totally different.
I love it.
Is it? And then he had this giant warhammer, which he named the Fist. Does it make sense? No. Was that the point? Absolutely.
I'm getting like wrestling vibes from it.
Yeah, absolutely. And to that point, my dad is a massive fan of wrestling. Um, and we had a short time where we were involved in indie wrestling. And yeah, that also played a big inspiration into Thorax. And just, he's the impaler, but he uses a bludgeoning weapon. And he doesn't quite impale people, he just beats them up.
Oh,
Um, it's just one of those things where it's absurdity to an extreme degree.
I love it. And where do you get your inspiration for your character? So Thorax was wrestling. Uh, what about Gormrog?
Thorax was just dumb.
Yeah.
Uh, Gormrog, how did I come up with Gormrog? Gormrog was actually a riff off of a character I played in the weekly game with friends, with GPS and our group. I played Coda, who was a half orc monk, but she was very different. She was a reincarnated version of an old character, and we were trapped in an alternate dimension, isekai style, and it was just wild. Um, Gormrog is Gormrog is an attempt to subvert tropes. He is someone I wanted to take and make him as monstrous as humanly possible, right? And make him come from a family that expects him to follow tradition, expects him to adhere to their rules, and just say, that's not me. And even if he has to walk away from his family, he's going to adhere to himself. He's going to be true to himself and just subvert all that expectation of yeah, our orcish tribe is full of rage and barbarians and battling his life, but like, I want to learn. I want to find peace within myself. I want to be an intellectual. I want to pursue higher interests than what you expect from me. And to play off of that, I don't want your expectations to dictate my life. And that's kind of the idea behind Gormrog in terms of his personality. Um, the voice actually took me uh, quite a bit longer than the character itself. And Joey, who you had on last time we had Goodberry Cafe, helped me out a great deal. We were on one of these chats, and he was just like, I think I know what I'm going to go with Felix. I don't know what I'm going to do, but I think I know what I'm going to do. I'm like, that. You're going to do that. And he goes, yeah, yeah, I'm going to do this. I'm just going to be hyper and chaotic, and I love it. And I'm like, go for it. That's going to be perfect. But yeah, Gormrog is a little bit like my family, a little bit not. I took a little bit from Long Island. Long Island. Long Island is fantastic. Okay, you would just die if you came here. You would love it. Oh my God. But I also took a little bit of Brooklyn, a little bit of Jersey, and a little bit of Boston. And I just mushed them all together because those places don't exist in Exandria. And I just, Gomrog, he's a little rough around the edges. He he sounds like he's in that tri-state area, but he's not in that tri-state area because he comes from a nomadic tribe, so he picks up a little bit here and there.
It's so good.
Um,
You
but
have
his
to
voice was meant to show that. Yeah.
you have to practice those accents, or they just come naturally. Oh wow.
You know, by nature of who I am, I tend to mimic sounds. Um, and voices are those things. Like I was listening to there was some interview with a surfer that went viral, right? Where he's like, oh, and I did that, I did that, I did that, whoa, and I was like, oh, and he was like, whoa, and I was just, oh, and I sat there for hours replaying that same video, trying to mimic it, and I couldn't. But that's how I entertain myself. Is just saw, dude, uh, righteous. Just
Oh.
like messing with words and phrases and accents and um for Charlie, my family game character, he's a Warforged. So I was like, how do I make this ridiculously overpowered wizard come off as not intimidating? Even though he's got no face at all, his magic is insanely powered and just crushes things with gravity because that's a thing now. Um, so I took Gladys from the Portal series and Hal from 2001: A Space Odyssey. I just mashed them together. It's, I don't think you should do that.
Oh no.
And he's monotone, but he inflects in the wrong places. And I played the whole game like that.
Oh man.
And it's just hysterical because my father's character will draw faces on him. And um, my stepmother plays a barbarian and she's like the tank. And at one point she was on the other end of a battlefield and I'm like, here, sir, your strength is needed elsewhere. And she's like, I'm busy right now. I said, you're needed. And I just opened a portal and shot her 90 feet away.
Whoa.
And it's just, I didn't ask. Just deadpan and just devastating results. And it's hysterical.
Sounds like some really great role playing moments.
That feeds a lot of my characters. It's just the voice because it helps me get into character.
I love it. I personally haven't done much with voices, but I think you're inspiring me to explore that more.
Definitely.
Um, so you mentioned a couple characters that you played, but I heard a reoccurring theme of half orc.
Yes, yes, half orcs are definitely my favorite. Um, in real life, I'm constantly writing and singing and creating and doing things that you would find a bard doing. But my favorite character to play is a half orc barbarian. I will not play a human. Uh, I can't. But I prefer the monster races, right? Bugbears, minotaurs, Goliaths. Half orcs have a special place in my heart. It was my first. It was the one I've played the most. But yeah, and anything that is as far away from human as I can get, because D&D has been an escape for me. It's a place where I can process things without having to process that I need processing. Right? It's a step removed, and it's when you make a character, whether you want to or not, you put a little bit of yourself in it. And what I try to do is I make a character as far from me as possible. Right? I don't want to be, this brutish, hulking, ugly, face-crushing dude with a warhammer that he named the Fist. I want to be me. And at the same time, I put enough of myself into him that I was able to process that, hey, I like making jokes, like a lot, really bad jokes. Big fan of dad jokes and puns. And
Yes.
when I was playing as Thorax, he just occasionally would say some really stupid things just to make people laugh. And I'm like, I like this. And it gave me a chance to try it out and say, is this who I want to be? And it was therapy in a way, where I got to be me in a way that I haven't before.
I love that.
My phone is blowing up because my father's sending me TikToks right now.
It's so cute. And so you said when you create your characters, you try to create them as far away from you as possible, but parts of you still
Yeah.
leak in.
Mhm.
So I'm curious with Gormrog because that's one of the character that I know the most about that you've made. What parts do you find of yourself have leaked into his character?
Gormrog likes puzzles. That's definitely me. I like toying with things in my head and figuring things out. Um, the difference being I know way too much about the world of Exandria that we play in, and Gormrog does not. Um, the whole chasing down a mystery thing, that is 100% me, right? The pacifism, that's me. Um, Gormrog is a lot more me than any other character I've played, while still being so far from me that I'm escaping. Um, because I don't know how to fight. I have no concept of how to fight. So,
That'll be interesting.
mm. If you meet me in a dark alley, I give up. Gormrog, on the other hand, will definitely beat somebody up if he has to.
But he'll choose not to, it seems like. If there's a.
Most of the time,
Yeah.
yeah. If there is a way he can do it without killing, he will. Um, because he does choose pacifism, but that is not a hard rule for him.
Yeah. All right, what about the
Like if
cooking?
the cooking, oh my
Yeah.
God. Um, so personally, I hate cooking, though I know how to do it. I hate cooking, mostly because I hate doing the dishes
Oh
afterwards.
my goodness.
Uh, I do, however, love baking. Um, so I I love making cookies and brownies and cakes and cupcakes and yeah, the all of it. So if you ever find yourself in New York and you want to have a baked good, you can make your famous ube
Ube cheesecake.
ube cheesecake. Yeah,
Yeah,
and I can swap recipes with you.
I'm down for that. Uh, I'm so surprised because I thought you were going to say, oh, I love cooking. And that's part of me that leaked into Gormrog. So that,
Not at all.
wow, I would have gotten that so
Honestly,
wrong.
Gormrog's cooking is inspired by my stepmother,
Uh-huh.
who is constantly exploring new recipes and trying new things. And just in the kitchen, she's a whirlwind, and she's just over here and over there and over here and over there and over here. I have never seen this woman move faster than when she has a deadline and something to cook. She's amazing. But no, that was one of those things where it was like, I need something to fill in a tool proficiency. And I was just like, all right, chef's tools. It's not going to make a difference in battle, but what can I do with this?
I would
So
have
it
never
was
known.
100% just building off of something I picked in character creation. It's just, yeah, that sounds cool. What can I do with that?
I would have never guessed that. I'm so off with my assumption there. Totally
Yeah,
thought,
no, I
no,
can cook.
just
I
don't.
don't like doing it.
Hmm.
I prefer eating.
So, when you chose those chef tools, did you think food would
Hmm.
play as big of a role in the campaign as it has played?
Any of us did. Right? Just Clover coming from a farm, me being a chef at Marie Lynn's, none of us had any expectation that this would be as big as it was. And I don't hate it. I don't.
There's no dishes.
We've got a running joke of the whole cow. Um, and I'm not making you a whole cow. Felix, I love you. I'm not making you a whole
Just
cow.
wait. It'll happen.
Whisper, maybe. She's got to really earn it, but that's going to be a lot of cooking.
But no dishes.
But no dishes.
Yeah, you make stir and fry do those.
Yes, stir and fry. Oh my God, stir and fry. Those weren't even my idea. That was all Donald. Donald came up with the entire crew for Marie Lynn's, and it was brilliant. And I loved every minute of everything we talked about when creating our backstories together. Um, I don't know if I'm jumping around from what you had planned, but I'm just
Okay. There's no plan.
I'm just so excited to talk about this with you and
Yeah.
and just
Oh, yeah. So, how did you and Dawn decide to like work together on your backstories?
Joe came to us. And he was like, you guys have some common themes. Maybe you should link up. And Donald came to me and he's like, hey, here's what I was thinking. And I'm just like, done. Let's do it. Let me add this. And he's just like, ooh, I like that. Can we do this? Yes, we can. Let's add this. And we just bounced back and forth and built up this whole backstory in a matter of like 6 conversations at 15 minutes each. And it was just done. And we came to Joe with it, and he's just like, there is so much here. Why?
That's awesome. I can't wait. I can't wait to learn more. Uh,
Yeah, there's a lot we might not learn though, because a lot of it hinges on Tristan
mhm.
and what he brought to the game, and uh, I'm I'm sad because he's not with us now, and like I hope he comes back, and if he doesn't, that's sad, and if he does, hooray.
Mm-hmm.
but we'll never know what little hints he was dropping. Like,
True.
hey, go back and watch episodes 1 through whenever, and just listen to Tristan because he drops a lot of hints about things that are going on that nobody picked up on except him and I.
Whisper wouldn't have picked up on it anyways.
A lot of what he was doing to hint at things was his description of actions, not what he said.
Gonna make me go back and watch.
Yes, everybody should go back and watch.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, we've talked about how Gormrog has family and how they moved around.
Mm-hmm.
We've talked about how his family is not exactly the normal family dynamic, but there are things there that I have to hold off from talking about
No
because
spoilers.
that would be too many spoilers.
No spoilers. We're trying to be spoiler free as much as possible. um, yeah, I feel like we're skirting a little bit into almost spoiler territory. So I'm
Hmm.
gonna backtrack a little bit. How did you
Sure.
get involved with uh, Forging Fates and New Age Geeks?
Oh man. Okay. I am 4 years sober, almost five.
Congratulations.
And one of the things that I really needed to help me with my sobriety was a community. So, having lost the weekly game with my friends, I reached out to a whole bunch of different forums and groups and said, "Hey, I'm a player. I'm looking for a game, online preferably." And somebody reached out and said, "Hey, I'm part of the Phoenix, and I'm running a D&D group. Would you like to join us?" And I said, "What is the Phoenix?" And she said, "Well, it's an active community of sober individuals who are, um, looking to build a community together and live a healthy, sober lifestyle together." And I'm like, "Okay, I can run with that." And she goes, "Great. My husband and I run a game every week. Uh, jump in, make a character." And so I did. And um, after a few weeks of this, she's like, "Hey, you're really good at this. Do you want to try and do this as a live stream?" And I'm like, "Yeah, let's do it." She goes, "No, no, no, not me. I know a guy. Let me put you in touch." Okay. And then she introduced me to Joe, and he and I talked for a bit, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm trying to put together um, this new thing. It's not set in stone yet, but we're gonna have a whole bunch of different games and kind of elimination style, see who we like, who we don't, and finalize a cast from that." And I made a Minotaur cleric. Um, and uh, Sarah will remember this character very fondly. His name was Toramides Adore, to play on Toreador and the origin of the Minotaur from the Greek stories and mythologies. Um, little steppers. I know a guy. Yeah, that's kind of how my life works. Is somebody knows somebody. Um, but uh, Tor was a life cleric, and my whole mission in that game was to just keep everybody alive. Um, were you in that game? You were in that game.
Yep. I offered
You
you
named the
food.
horse.
Yes.
You named the horse, which is the only reason why I stepped in. And
Save the
oh
horse.
man, I was gonna let that horse die. I was like, that's not one of my charges. And you're just like, the horse's name is Cupcake. And I'm just like, damn it. I have written down the hit points for everybody in this group. I don't know how many hit points the horse has. So I physically interposed myself between the bad guys and the horse, and I'm just like,
Yep.
gotta keep it alive. Um, However, Tor had his own inspirations. If you are on TikTok, go look up Max Randolph. He's a blacksmith. Um, I don't remember where, but he works with massive creations and um, intricate details like you wouldn't believe. And he's phenomenal, but his energy is just that he is big but kind. And he talks in this way that is just wonderful. And it's wonderful to see you again and pull up a chair and just welcoming no matter what he does. And he's just delightful to listen to. Um, oh, goodness. They're wishing to play with Tor again.
Aw.
I, uh, I don't know. I put everything I had into that, right? Because I wanted to be part of this. And um, Joe came to me afterwards and he's like, "You did good, kid. You did good. We're not sure if we're going with you yet, but you did good."
Hmm.
I was just like telling all my friends, I'm like, I'm gonna be amazing. I'm gonna be popular. I'm gonna be famous. And they're just like, yeah, okay. Come to find out, I was in the final draft pick. And, we wound up doing this thing where I got to meet you and everybody else. And now we get to play together every other week.
And here we are.
Share it with the world at large.
Yep. I know we had some fun roleplay moments in our one shot audition too. Was that your first time playing with strangers?
No, so what I did with Miles in the Phoenix
Okay.
is that was my first time. Well, no, I guess playing with GPS and everybody else, that was my first time playing with strangers. But they were strangers who my parents knew, so it was a little different.
Okay.
So playing with Miles and the Phoenix was the first time playing with strangers that I had no connection to.
Mm-hmm.
It was just, hi, I'm gonna do a thing now. They're like, oh yeah, all right, uh, okay. And I just kind of eased into it. But then playing with you in the one shot and Sarah and the others, it was just like that, just a step up. And
Mm-hmm.
now playing with you guys every other week, you're no longer strangers.
That's
So
true.
it's a lot easier.
Were you nervous for the audition? One shot?
Yeah. Jem, I've got anxiety. I'm always nervous.
Same team.
Um, just even for this, it was like, hey, your friend Jem is going to interview you on this interview show, and you're just going to talk about yourself. I'm gonna what? Why? And it's just like anxiety is constant, no matter what. But it's fun, and I'm a huge fan of you in the show. And like, why wouldn't I want to be here?
It's great to have you here and learn more about you. So, I'm thinking back to Tor, and it sounds like you put a
Hmm.
lot of like thought into that character. And then the characters you've talked about so far have all sounded really well fleshed out. Are When you think of your character, what do you start with? Do you start with a concept? Do you start with a like class or race? Do you start with
So
stats?
I build characters for fun, right? If you looked into my D&D Beyond, there's almost 100 of them.
Woo.
Um, so creating characters serves multiple purposes. Um, Most of the time for characters I play, there are concepts. There are, hey, wouldn't it be cool if? And what do I want to do this time around? right? So I'll start with a class, and then I'll do a race, and then I'll do a background, and then I'll build it from there. And then the roles or the standard array for the point by whatever stats are built defines features of the character, and it goes from there. But I will also build characters that I will never play. Um, for those in the Discord, you might actually be aware of this. I build level 20 characters that just take one aspect and push it so far to the edge that it is absurd. Um, I've got a Goliath that can essentially lift a car without issue. Um, because I took Bear Totem Barbarian, plus the Goliath, plus this item, plus that item, and just made focused on what can I do to make him lift more. Sacrifice everything else, make him lift more. And like sometimes that's the entire point behind a character is just how can I take this one little facet and turn it up to 11? Like there's one character I have that has proficiency in every skill by multi-classing into 4 different classes. Um, there's uh goodness, there's so many. Um, there's one that is just literally mini Batman. I took a halfling and I turned him into Batman.
I love it.
Just random thoughts, you know, stupid things. Just pick that one little thing,
Mm-hmm.
hyperfixate on that, and make a level 20 character out of it. And that's what I do for fun because that's what normal people do in their free time.
That's a fun challenge, I think. In chat, Nico said, let's do a level 20 battle royale with only Dom's characters. Pick your character out of a hat.
Oh, please. There's one that
That'd be fun.
there's one that I made that you can't hit. You can't. He's got a 32 AC
Oh my goodness.
and proficiency in every saving throw. And like, you can try. It's not going to happen.
I'm like thinking of ways that they could get hurt that don't involve.
Um, so I looked at like magic missile. It can hit you every time. So I gave him shield, which makes you immune to magic missile, right? Like AC stacked. Like movement speed is 30, but like he doesn't need to go fast to not die. Right? So his whole purpose is survive a battle royale.
Okay, he's not allowed in the hat.
He's on the ban list.
Yeah. When they make those cards in trading card games that like, whoops, that was too good.
Yeah. We gotta nerf this guy.
Yeah. um, so when you're building a character that you're playing, are you a stat optimizer?
For a character that I'm playing, I actually like negative stats. I at least want one, which is why I like standard array, because you start with an 8 in one stat and that brings you to a -1. But flaws give you depth. Right? When you're making characters for a story, for a game, for anything, if you're creating a character that's going to serve a purpose, you need to have a way for them to grow. Right? And um, yeah, they have flaws and ideals and things in the background that you can choose from. I like to have the stats augment that, right? So, say you have a low constitution, right? You can get sick easily, right? Maybe you're always cold. Right? It doesn't have to serve a function, but it could be narrative, right? If you have pluses in all your stats, like What's wrong with you? What's something that you need to overcome on your hero journey? Right? It's not all just I'm amazing, the bad guy's amazing, I got to stop him and done. Right? That it's boring. Right? Like you wouldn't read that in a book and think, "Wow, what a character." Right? But if you have to learn that, house elves need to be freed from slavery, right? Even if they think they're okay with it, right? Slavery's wrong, Ron Weasley.
Oh no.
That end of sentence,
Hmm.
right? Like you have to have something built into your character when you start that's easy for you mentally to overcome so that you can help guide your character through that. But you also need something that is wrong with your character. So, in terms of maximizing stats, no, not if I'm going to play it. If I'm going to be telling a collaborative story, I want flawed characters. I want challenges. I want struggle because ultimately art imitates life and life is a struggle for everyone. And that's beautiful.
I agree with that. And I like the way that you think through your character. I also like to have at least one negative stat. Um, However, I did just watch a video by Jenny D just put out. So Jenny D made a video a while ago talking about this exact thing, like if you have a flaw, building it into your stats. And she said it's
Mm.
okay to have a flawed character and stuff like that. And I was like, I totally agree with that. But she recently, I think last week or so, released a
Oh, yeah.
video.
She said she was wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you watch that?
But
I thought
I
it was
did.
interesting.
I loved it.
Yeah.
What she said was she was wrong to tell people how to play their character,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like when I say having all positives is boring, that's for me,
Mm-hmm.
right? I'm not telling anybody else how to play their game. I like flawed characters
Mm-hmm.
because I relate to flawed characters because I am a flawed character.
Yeah.
And it gives the character more depth, but there are ways that you can creatively make a multi-dimensional character without negative stats,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like if you have you ever played a game with a character with a 20 in any stat?
No, not yet.
So from what I understand from the books, right, tens across the board are NPCs, like the average person. 13s are above average, high performing commoners, right? If you hit 15, you're insanely talented in that area. You hit 20, that's practically God tier. And we're basically gods, right? Goldfish dive off a cliff.
My
Um,
girl.
my favorite thing to do with 20s is be too far in the other direction, right? So if you have a 20 in strength, you go to pick something up, roll. If you roll like a 1 when just trying to pick up a cup, you've crushed it in your hand. You're too strong,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Oh, I like that.
Become so good you're bad at certain things that are commonplace, right? Um, so you don't have to have negatives in stats to have flaws.
True.
But Jenny made an excellent point that, you know, also shouldn't be telling people how to play their game.
She also said she um, changed how she viewed, because she did the negative stat thing. But she said there's also ways to incorporate your character's flaws roleplay wise that don't actually require a negative stat. And that got me thinking, like, oh yeah, like there are so many other flaws that I can just be a core part of my character that don't require me to be like a -1 in strength or something like that. So it was
Yeah,
just a
like
unique way. Yeah.
not tolerating a dirty table.
Yes.
Felix,
Sand.
just get your filthy hands off my table, Felix. Um, no, that's 100% just a role play opportunity that came up that had no bearing on the character that I didn't even think about until he did it.
Mm.
Just like, you dirtying my table? Really? This is what we're doing now? This is how you treat my establishment? Right. Um, that has nothing to do with stats. It's just funny.
Mm-hmm. So if you had to rank the elements of D&D, uh, what order would you put them in? And they're combat, role play, solving mysteries, and exploration.
Oh, that's tough. I'm gonna say roleplay, exploration, mystery, combat. And I love combat. Right? This is a game that incorporates so many different aspects of things I enjoy. It's hard to put them in tiers like that. Honestly, it more accurately would be the first three, closely followed by the fourth, just first and second place. Like there is no third. But roleplay would definitely be my favorite if I had to pick one.
Mm-hmm. And is that for the
What
reasons you
about you?
mentioned earlier?
So roleplay is my favorite because it adds to the story without needing to be tied down by stats or mechanics or anything else. You get to drive the narrative regardless of anything else. Like this game is collaborative storytelling. We are telling this story together, and I'm constantly looking for points in which I can build connection or progress the story. And like with that moment with Finnick, where I went to wake Whisper up. Spoilers for Forging Fates if you haven't seen it. Um, I went to wake Whisper up for her turn to watch. Behind the scenes, I fully intended to have a moment with you at that point. I intended to just sit with you and talk. But when Finnick shot up, I was like, not what I was expecting, but also an opportunity. Because I don't know anything about the backstory behind either of your characters, and that drives me nuts. I want to find out the mystery of who is Whisper and what has Finnick gone through. And just, there's so much.
Mm-hmm. So excited.
I like unraveling that.
Mm-hmm.
But role play is the way in which that happens. And role play is the way in which you get to add new things to your character that weren't there before. Like, I think on Four-Sided Dive, the cast of Critical Role recently talked about um, their backstories and how uh, somebody was like, wait, you can add to your backstory? Yes, you can change your backstory. You can add to it. You can take away from it. You can say this thing that I had happen here. I don't want it to happen anymore. You can change anything about it because it's a game.
Mm-hmm.
And ultimately the point is to have fun, but like if something occurs to you and you want to do something, do it. As long as you communicate with your crew and like, hey guys, I want to tell this part of my story. go for it. Right? As long as everybody's cool with it, do it.
Hmm.
And if you're not cool with something that happens at a table, friends and family, um, talk about it. Because communication is important when telling a story together.
Yeah. There's also some awesome safety tools in the D&D safety toolkit.
Yeah,
You can Google that.
D&D safety toolkit is a great thing to Google regularly to remind yourself and incorporate new things. To all the fans watching, please do that for
Hmm.
your safety and the safety of everyone at your table. Um, and talk to your friends about it because, again, the point is to have fun, even when talking about world-ending things. Like,
Or even when you're so stressed
hey
out.
guys, that floating city is falling
No.
on us. Yeah, we
Mm.
should probably do something about that.
Calamity.
But I wanted to pick flowers.
Mm.
Um, yeah.
So, when you write your backstories, are you a extensive backstory writer, or are you a short blurb backstory? Are you somewhere in the middle?
I have no idea how to write a backstory.
What? You keep surprising me.
Um, Different people want different things when talking about a backstory.
Hmm.
Um, who you play with makes a difference. I have no idea how to make a backstory because everybody I've talked to, everybody I've played with does it differently.
Hmm.
Um, with Joe, he had very specific things he wanted, and so I gave it to him. But for my family, it's just here's an idea, here's another idea, here's another idea. That's it. And I just build off of that as we play.
Hmm.
But um, there was one game I played in where I was like, all right, I want this, that, 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 this, that. And the DM was just like, whoa, buddy, no. Just on principle. I didn't register half of it, but just no. Um, Too much. And then there's other people who are like, that's it? Give me a little more. Give me a little more. Give me a little more. And um it's one of those things where it depends on who I'm playing with.
Hmm. I had you pegged for a extensive backstory person. I was off on that one too. And you are a mystery.
I can be an extensive backstory person, and in my head, I can hold so much more than I can put to paper.
Hmm. It sounds like you really flesh out your characters, so
Hmm.
got me on that
Yeah,
one.
but most of it's up here,
Yeah.
right? Most of it is who the character is, not where the character came from,
Hmm.
right? Like not the why he's like this, but just what he's like.
So thinking of our story so far, we're on what, episode 9, something like that.
Somewhere around there.
Yeah.
Hmm.
What would you like more of in our story?
I'd like more Whisper. Whisper and Finnick need more. And you're like, "Well, more what, Dom? That doesn't make
Yeah.
any sense. Why are you calling me out like that?" Um, I want more opportunities to engage with Whisper. I want more screen time for Whisper. I want more um, likes and dislikes and just who is she? She's so aloof. It drives me nuts. She's kind-hearted and free-spirited and just chaotically whimsical, and I love her and I hate her at the same time because she's just who are you? Um, no, I don't hate her at all. I love every minute of playing with you guys, and Finnick. with her flashes and PTSD, it just I want to unravel that. Um, and just Felix with the tattoo on his back. Just does anybody want to talk about that? Like, can we talk about that? And just like he said to Clover, just, oh yeah, I showed Gormrog the tattoo on my back, and then somebody else said, you have a tattoo, and he goes, anyway, moving on, and I'm just like, no, don't move on.
We've been too
Uh,
busy.
ultimate, ultimately, what I'd like more of is just getting to know the characters. Which, downtime can be boring for some people, but I love it. Um, and every time we have downtime, Joe is always pushing okay, so what do you guys want to do next? I want to talk, Joe. I want to sit around a table and talk.
Campfire.
Um, campfire. I would love a campfire. Excuse me while I untie my tongue. I would love a campfire session, just sitting around telling stories, just like, so this one time, I was out hunting and we came across this and just cool, great narrative, love it, you know. Or just whisper, where are you from? Oh, everywhere. All right, no, originally, where are you from? Who are your parents? What? Ah, so frustrating
we got
how
we got a noted.
aloof you are.
We got a noted in the chat. No. Uh, you got me thinking like trying to tell ghost stories in character would be a fun challenge.
And the pots and the pans flew off the shelf, and nobody was there.
Love it.
Oh man.
Do you have a
Um,
do you have a favorite moment in our story so far?
favorite moment. There's a lot of good ones. Clover talking with um what's his face in the ogre mask. Um, do you wear that because you're ugly? What? Do, do you know who he is? Like, what are you doing? And it's just she's absolutely adorable as Clover, and Taz is just bringing this life to this child. And she's 19. She is a child in this adventuring party, and she's just I love it, right? Like Gormrog was not supposed to be the mom friend.
How did this
And
happen?
yet the moment Clover opened her mouth, I'm like, no, I gotta protect this one. This child, this special little wonderful child. I am protecting her until I die. That it's not a question, it's not a choice. It is just that is my life now. And with Finnick being like, no, I'm not okay. I'm like, all right, let me help you. And Felix going, I have this mystery. I'm just, okay, I'll help you. And Whisper going, hey, maybe we should befriend a griffin. You need help. I will help you. This is not a smart decision, but I will help you
It
because
was
I love you.
the
And
best decision.
Mom thinks that was fantastic. Gormrog is concerned, but
Understandably.
um, no, it's not so much one moment, so much as all of them compiled that I love because the story that we're telling together is fun and it's compelling and it's delightful. And it's also like, hey, reality check. We're fighting an unknown mystical force, and I feel woefully unprepared, but like, thanks for being here for me, guys. I love you guys. You're my friends. And I think that's hysterical.
Uh, is there any scenes so far that you'd want to see fan art of?
Stir and Fry for sure.
Yes.
Just the two of them in the kitchen going back and forth. Just twin goblins, identical twins that are just chaotic and like them stacked on top of each other or just arguing or Gormrog having one in each hand, holding them up by the scruff. Just, no, eat it. No, eat it. Like
In my head,
either
they're
of them.
pain and panic from,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, from Hercules,
Hercules.
absolutely.
That's what I see when they come up.
I'll just walk in one day. Good morning, your lugubriousness. Oh man. Um, what else? The showdown in Marie Lynn's where it was just all of the class stood up and we're just like, oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, just that moment of, oh shit.
That was epic.
Um, it was epic. And the way that you were just like, I don't care how many you are. I'm going to fight you. And like, what was that dwarf guy's name? We never got there was a dwarf guy? What? Um, Grass Mud Angels,
That was
right?
cute.
Like
Yeah.
you and Clover. What else? I don't know. There's a lot, but those are probably my favorites. Is the lighthearted moments, the adventurous moments that are just like, yeah, we're there's a chance we could die, but let's laugh about it. Those are my favorites, but uh, stir and fry in the kitchen would delight me to see fan art of.
Yes, please. So I asked Joey this, but I gotta ask you too. Um, if you could cast anyone, who would you cast to play Gormrog?
Gorma, oh God, whoever it is, they're gonna need a lot of prosthetics. Uh, he's got four tusks. He's got green skin everywhere. He's ugly. He's got this scar down the left side of his face. He's got a short, stubby, fat nose, and he's not meant to be pretty. So I feel like anybody I cast is now immediately going to be insulted that I cast them. But have you seen the movie with Will Smith, Bright?
Mm-hmm.
Who played his co-star? Like who was his co-star on that? Who played the orc? Because that was an excellent depiction. Um, whoever that guy was, that guy. Um, because Gorm is 6'2", but he's a lean 6'2". So um I don't want like a bodybuilder or a wrestler. I want a thin but muscular person to do it, but I also want him to be, not so pretty to look at.
Kuma says Danny DeVito.
Gormagina. No, he's too short. Amazing actor, but too short. Um, oh no.
Gormum.
Gormom.
New shirts. So,
Now we need fan art of just Gormrog, and then everybody else is just little chibi characters, like holding his hand or climbing on him or
stopping traffic. So since we're thinking hypotheticals,
Hmm.
who would be your dream guest member on the show?
Joe Manganiello.
Nice. Why Joe?
So we're playing in Exandria, and we may be up against the cult of Vecna. Joe played Archon in the Critical Role games,
Mm-hmm.
and at the end of campaign one, he did something pretty significant when it comes to Vecna.
Don't spoil it for me yet. I'm watching campaign 1 for the first time.
The very end of campaign one will have a significant event that some of our viewers will know. Um, and that will be terrifying for the implications of what may or may not come to pass in our game. And it is something that haunts my dreams and um, is also at the same time like really exciting to think about.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but because you haven't seen it, I'm going to leave it at that. Joe
Okay.
Manganiello.
I'll get there
Um,
soon. I'm on like 73.
but also because he's like a king in the world of D&D and just his basement. I want his basement. Like if you haven't seen it, look it up. Just look it up. It's a nerd stream, and like one, he's gorgeous. Two, he's an incredible actor. Three, he loves the game more than anybody in the world because he has converted his basement to look like a dungeon, and he's got display cases and monster heads, and like he's got a beholder just chilling out in his basement, and his table has chairs that look like Knights of the Round Table, but it's a long rectangular table, and they've got names carved into them for who sits at those chairs, and like Joe Manganiello plays D&D with the Big Show from wrestling, and I want to be his friend.
Right?
I want to play D&D with him, and like he's apparently in so many games that they had to split him up because like these celebrities all come to play and like
I will. We will reach out to him on Twitter. Can you imagine?
hey Joe, my name's Dom. I'm a big fan. Love your work. Uh, love your enthusiasm more. Come play with us, please.
I can't even imagine. um, so I love the way that you create your characters, and I love that I've learned more about how you create them through our conversation so far. Do you have any advice for players who might struggle stepping into that role play space or stepping into like a fleshed out character design?
Start from where you are. Whatever you have so far, look it over. Right? If you say I want to be Elf Ranger, Outlander background. Start from there. Look at what your proficiencies are. Look at what your equipment is. Then ask yourself why you're proficient in that. You have proficiency in light armor, medium armor, certain weapons, certain skills. Making it up, what did you go through to earn that proficiency? Right? That's something you're really good at. Were you just born really good at that? Write it down. Did you go through extensive training? Write it down. Did you go through a traumatic life event? Write it down. Compile a list of why for the proficiencies, and you'll start to see a person. Then tell me, or tell yourself or your DM, if you had to struggle to get that proficiency, if you had to train for it, why'd you keep going? What struggles did you overcome? What challenges did you face along the way? Gormrog's a chef. He's proficient with chef's tools. But he grew up in the outlands. He was a nomad. His family was barbaric. He had to learn how to cook. He had to learn to love it. He had to learn to try new things and get outside of himself to do that. That was all because I had a proficiency space and I had no idea what to do with it. So I picked chef's tools and built this whole thing off of it. But if you want to make your character more of a identifiable person, start there. Start with what you have and just tell me why. Tell yourself why.
It's great advice.
Thank you.
And I think a lot of people will need this advice moving forward because it seems like tabletop role playing games are just getting more and more popular. I mean, there was Critical Role
Mm.
that was much more of a success than I think anyone planned for it to be.
They're still reeling from it.
All right. Stranger Things, I think, really brought D&D back to a much more public light,
Mhm.
especially this most recent season with Eddie and the Hellfire Club. And now we've got this movie coming out. So I feel like there's about to be a lot of new players out there. Um,
I hope so.
what do you think it is about tabletop role playing games as like a genre that has really captivated the public or captivated the players?
Do you remember when you were in school, Mm. elementary school, um, playing at recess?
Yeah.
With me and my friends, we would, oh, pretend this is a sword, and I'd pick up a stick. Right? I'm gonna slay a dragon. It's imagination. It's make believe. It's fun. I think that the world we're in has a significant lack of playing. Right? We've got sports, yeah, and that's great for those who do it. I myself played soccer for a long time, but exercising your imagination is something else entirely. And I think tabletop role-playing games and role-playing games in general really gives people a space in which they can do that. It is holding space for playing. It's necessary for emotional and mental health. And it's something that everybody on a fundamental level craves. And for the people who have that without it, great. And for the people like me who don't, D&D is therapy. It's community. It's healing from past traumas. It's growing as a person and as a collaborator and a creator. And it's, I don't know, it's a space in which you can do so much with it, and the limit really is just your imagination. And I think that's why people are embracing it because there's very few opportunities like it.
Okay. Love that. That was a really thoughtful response to that. Thank you.
Hmm. Thank you.
Uh, I actually think this is a great time for us to take a short break. So we'll take a 10-minute break and then we'll be back with a game of Cast Most Likely. So hang in there, chat. We'll be back shortly. All right, welcome back. So, as I said before the short break, we are now jumping into a game of Cast Most Likely, which was inspired by our cast member Cece. who plays Finnick on Forging Fates. So I've got a couple of questions for you, Dom, and you have to tell
Mhm.
me which player would be most likely to do these things. Are you ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. All right. So the first one is, who would be most likely to develop an unhealthy obsession?
Felix. He already has one.
I can see it. Yeah. Okay. How about a
Right?
new one? A
He's gonna
new
get
unhealthy.
fixed. He's still Felix because he will get fixated on anything. Right? The broken window that got fixed too soon. Right? The cow. Right? Is it a cow or is it meat? Is it the whole cow? Just let it go, dude. You're getting fixated. Like he would get caught up on anything.
You're right.
So make it big enough and he'll be obsessed.
I agree. I can see it. Uh, for the next one, who do you think is most likely to retire early?
Retire from adventuring.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna say Gormrog because he gives real Danny Glover energy of I'm too old for this shit.
Mm-hmm. Like it. Danny Glover energy. All right. Who do you think is most likely to be arrested?
All of you. Every single one of you. Um,
It's a hard one.
Clover or Whisper for sure. I'm gonna say Whisper because she would stand and try and argue. I don't need to be arrested. I'm doing the right thing. Just let go of me. Right? Whereas Clover will just hide in the shadows and just leave.
Tracks.
Mm.
Who do you think is most likely to become a teacher?
Whisper doesn't believe in herself enough. Clover hasn't learned enough yet about other people. Finnick hasn't opened up enough yet. I would settle on Gormrog or Felix because Felix has more information stored in his head and he talks more, but Gormrog is very much open to helping other people grow and not just unraveling mysteries. I would say Gormrog.
I can see it. And who do you think is most likely to commit a huge crime on accident?
All of you! it, this game really is just Gormrog herding cats. Um, again, Clover or Whisper. On accident, Whisper. Right? Intentionally, Clover.
Well, that was going to be my next one. Who do you think is likely to commit the crime on purpose?
Clover. 100%.
Really caught me off guard
The
with
two of
the.
you are just. Oh, when both of you pulled out your weapons at the same moment, just.
Yeah. All right, this one's in a
The
similar
two.
vein. Yeah. Who do you think is most likely to get a bounty on their head?
Oh my God. I'm not entirely convinced Finnick doesn't already have one.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah, I think something happened and she's running from it.
It's good. I like it. I wasn't thinking of that. That wasn't in my wheelhouse, but now that's a viable theory.
Yeah, so the notes that I've shared with you are just all facts. You should see the notes that get slipped in there that are just questions about everybody else and even like Wendy. Why is she saying interesting so much? What are those things on her hands? Did she make them? Are they enchanted? They're not enchanted. What are they? Right? Like so many notes, so many questions, so many theories. I think about everything.
And who do you think is most likely to be good at sports?
Gormrog,
Nice. You're fast with that one.
you kidding me? Do you know who I am?
Okay, what sport? What sport would be Gormrog's favorite sport?
Oh man. Gormrog is good at running. Um, so I would say he would play a little bit of the footballs, right? The soccer's the American football, the um anything really where he gets to run. Um, at this point, Gormrog has a 40-foot movement speed,
Oof.
which is ridiculous. Right? Like in your backyard, measure out 40 feet, mark it, and
Mm.
then make that in 6 seconds consistently. What? It's absurd. And he's only going to get faster.
It's true. Next
Uh,
question is who do you think would be most likely to be difficult to buy gifts for?
Nick. Clover would be, newer, sharper gardening tools, um, or a wider array, or thieves' tools, or just some type of tool that could aid her in her endeavors. She has a lot of things she is good with, and she has a lot of things she's interested in. So finding a gift for her would not be a problem. Felix will take anything. You can hand him a shiny rock and he'll love it. Whisper and Finnick would be harder, but I think Whisper would be more enthusiastic about things she didn't like. Right? In terms of easier to give a gift to, right? If you chose wrong and you gave it to Whisper, she'd be like, "Oh, thanks. Not really what I wanted, but thanks. I'll hold on to it because you gave it to me." Right? Whereas Finnick would just be like, "What's that? Why are you giving me a gift? Why do I want that as a gift?" Right? Like she's very close to the chest and like I don't know anything about her. So I have no idea how to give her a gift. So I would go with Finnick.
Great. Also, Whisper wouldn't be hard. Just get her food.
I
Bacon.
do regularly.
Easiest gift. All right. I got my last one for most likely, and then we're going to go into a dicey question segment and some questions
Ooh,
from the chat. So if you've got questions in
sure.
the chat, start asking them now. But my last one for cast most likely is who do you think is most likely to become rich?
Clover.
Hmm.
Either through lucrative business means due to her family or through stealing or a combination of the two. I feel like she has the best opportunity to get rich.
True. Good point. I guess we'll
But I don't
see.
know that being rich is really a priority for anybody else.
Mm-mm.
Unless, Whisper comes from a really rich family and we just don't know. And she already has millions of platinum to her name.
We don't know. Come from all over. I'm not going to give anything away. You can keep trying. Awesome. So that's the end of Cast Most Likely. I love hearing it. And thank you, Cece, for the idea. We're going to go
Just catch
into
me in the back like Charlie Day. This one, that one ties to that.
up
So
next is dicey question segment. So I'm going to roll
I love
this
these.
d20 and ask you whatever associated question it is. And if
Hmm?
you are listening in chat, start. If you have any questions for Dom, ask away. We're going to get to them after asking a couple of these dicey questions. All right. First one is a 12. If you had a spiritual weapon, what would it look like?
Ooh, it would definitely be a sword, but what kind? I think it would be either a gladius or a falchion. I have a collection of swords, which I will not show on camera, because I don't need us getting kicked off Twitch. And I absolutely love swords. They're not the most practical use weapon anymore, but every design had a purpose, and I am fascinated by that. And yeah, I think it'd be either a gladius or a falchion, depending on what I needed it for.
I love it. What about Gormrog?
Gormrog would have a spectral fist, just a giant hand, just smacking people around.
Like
But I
a
think Bigby's hand
Big B's
covers that.
hand,
But
yeah, yeah.
just somewhere between Bigby's hand and Mage hand, just
Oh, all right. We're starting to get some questions in the chat, but I'm going to do another dicey question. All right, we got a 4. All right. What is your favorite character in sci-fi or fantasy?
it's tough.
That's a tough one. That's a really broad range.
This is not even like what's your favorite genre. It's not what your favorite um thing in this genre. It's what's your favorite character?
Mm-hmm.
Goodness. Okay. In Star Wars, specifically, um, in I don't remember if it was the Clone Wars or Rebels, but the show is on Disney Plus. There are the personifications of the Force, right? The family, the father, the brother, the sister. But my favorite character would be the Bendu, not the light, not the dark. He is what is between. And I think the only characters he's canonically had interactions with so far are Ahsoka and Kanan Jarrus. And he's basically said everything comes down to perspective. And what is light, what is dark are just parts of a whole, right? The living force is part of the cosmic force. The necessity of these things to protect you is only your perspective because that is the only truth you've known, right? And um, I've found that resonates true with my life and what I believe. And I think that character would be my favorite.
I love that. That's from Rebels, I think. Yeah,
Yeah.
Rebels is my favorite. Oh yeah, the family is clone. Yep, Bendu is Rebels. Rebels is my favorite Star Wars media by far. So good.
It's definitely up there. I love Star Wars.
Mm. All right, we're gonna jump into chat questions before I get lost because we got a bunch.
Go
So
for it.
Nico Lavender says, if you could travel anywhere in the world, where would you love to visit?
Portugal.
Ooh.
Yeah, most people don't expect that one. My grandmother has gone to Portugal a number of times, and every time she comes back raving about it. And she went on business trips mostly when she was working. But she's got a little book of places she's been and things she's kept from there. It's like a scrapbook of sorts. And she comes back and she's, Dom, I really think that you should just take a week. Just go to Portugal and look at all the little houses and all the little shops and the cafes. You would love it there. From what I've seen, I can't say that she'd be wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just a trip that takes you out of time. And um, I don't know the political climate of Portugal. I don't know um, the status of COVID here or there and what effect it has on travel and the cost of a trip. But I think in an ideal world, I would like to go to Portugal.
Well, I hope that you can make that happen.
Thanks.
Another question we got from Little Stuffers is TwitchCon question mark.
It's gone.
Yeah, TwitchCon. It's in San Diego this fall. I know I
Well,
would love it if y'all came out to California to come to TwitchCon.
so, uh, depending on whether or not we can get uh, tickets to the show and pay for airfare and a hotel and get time off of my day job and not be doing other things and um I would love to go to San Diego and just do San Diego stuff. But yeah, TwitchCon too. Absolutely. Why not?
That'd be awesome.
But the stars do need to
Yeah.
align for that because money is a thing.
Yup. Kuma the Sleepy asks, which kingdom in Exandria would you most likely live in?
It's a good question. I don't know, to be completely honest. Um, I want to say Marquette, but that's probably wrong. Um, I like big cities. Not a very rural person or suburbanite. Like I grew up in the suburbs, but my heart has always been in the city. So it would need to be in some place with either a lot of or a single massive city and not underground. Like I wouldn't chill with the dwarves. Um, I need the weather.
I feel like we're still learning a lot, even though we're on campaign third.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like the Hellcatch
Yeah.
Valley. So cool.
Matt needs to just flesh out just everything about every place and just put it all in one video for me to absorb it all and be able to make that particular choice. Sorry, Kuma. I wish I had a better answer for you.
And next question. Nico Lavender asks, Gormrog is always cooking for everyone else, but what is Gormrog's favorite food?
Gormrog. Gormrog likes rabbits too. No, uh, don't kill me. No, he's simple. He likes basic things that you can get out in the wild, like chicken, right? Put it on the grill, be done with it. And maybe a little seasoning, but he likes very basic things. not complicated when it comes to food. Oh yeah, now she's upset.
um, Another question from Little Stuffers. Uh, a must know for all cast members. Are you a dice goblin too? Oh no.
Maybe.
Do you have a favorite?
These are the newest,
Whoa. Those are pretty.
but these are my favorites. They've like you can't really see it. The camera's not going to focus on it,
Mm-hmm.
but they've got dragons on each side. They're metallic dragon dice, and when you take them together, they jingle.
Ooh, I need a pair.
They're like they're
Jingling
like little
dice.
bells.
Yeah.
Because they're hollow in the middle. Um, but yeah, I think I've got 11 sets of dice. I definitely need more, but um, yeah, bit of a dice goblin.
Blossoming dice goblin. Um, we've got another question from It's Kusa Chan. Do I have your
Mhm.
blessing to design a Grom Mom shirt design for our online store?
Yes, you may, um, because it's delightful. Um, God, don't let that be my legacy. Um, no, I'm totally fine with it.
Yay.
I love laughing at myself and the things I've done. Um, but absolutely, it's a good thing to be a mom. To be the mom friend is not problematic.
And Nico Lavender asks, when did you start collecting swords and why?
Comic-Con, actually. New York Comic-Con used to have vendors that sold swords. They no longer do. Although they do have some that are like polyurethane, which is
Mm-hmm.
just a really hard plastic, or prop swords. Um, it's not the same, but uh, I started collecting when my friends, who I actually currently live with, were like, "Hey, you want to go to Comic-Con?" And we all got massive swords, right? These absurd, monstrous things. My friend basically got uh, the katana that Sephiroth has. It's like a 5 foot long blade and like a 3 foot handle. Um, and we're just walking through the streets of New York City with that. Um, and I got Naginata, which is basically a polearm, but also a sword. And it's been about a decade, give or take a few years. Um, and it's grown to encapsulate swords and knives and daggers. And got a lovely set of throwing daggers, so love those. Um, I enjoy collecting them. I will say that I don't collect um, multiples, and I like to only have weapons that are actual weapons. Like there's a lot of people who sell like, oh, this is the sword from Bleach, right?
Mm-hmm.
The Bankai, and
Yeah.
that's cool, but I don't want that. And like I appreciate it for what it is. It's art. It's absolutely phenomenal that you made that and you bought it or whatever. But the swords I collect are swords that actually were used in the real world,
Cool.
except one, which is just an exception. But
Mm-hmm.
that one bit me, and we're not going to talk about it.
Another question from Kuma the Sleepy. We've got, what's the most useful spell you would like to know how to use or cast?
There's two that immediately come to mind. Um, the first of which is prestidigitation. It is a cantrip. It is versatile. It does so many things. Um, so many things.
Would do the
And it'd
dishes
be
for
cool.
you.
She would do the dishes for me, and I would be able to cook more. Um, but also demiplane, right? I live in a place in New York, right? I live in New York City. My space is limited. If I could just open a door and have a 20 by 20 room for storage that I can open from anywhere and have multiple of these doors, like, yes, sign me up. Um, yeah, I think uh, the functionality of Demiplane and the variety that is offered through prestidigitation, those would be my answers.
Hmm. Those are good ones. And I think we've got our last question before we
Mhm.
close out the night from November Leaves. What member of Vox Machina or other Critical Role party or NPC would you most likely be friends with and why?
Oh goodness. Yeah, I'm just running through my head of all the different parties they've been. I think Vox Machina and I would not get along.
Really?
They're a little they're a little much. But I think that Aurum from Bell's Hells would be someone I got along with swimmingly.
Mm-hmm. See it.
Yeah, he'd be my little buddy.
Orem of the Air, Shari. I could see it.
Hmm.
Can't wait to learn more about Orem too.
Hmm. Yeah, there's been a lot of stuff hinted that I'm like, that's a thread. Pull on it. I want more.
Yeah. Awesome. Well,
Yeah.
that closes out our chat questions. I think this is a good place to wrap it up. But before we go, is there anything you want to plug? Anything you want to share?
Well, there's this D&D show that I'm a part of that you can all watch. It's called Forging Fates. It's by the crew from New Age Geeks. I don't know if you've heard of them, but they have a show every other Monday night on their Twitch, twitch.tv/new_age_geeks. Is at 9 p.m. my time, 6 p.m. Gem's time. Just figure out time zones. They're weird. Time is a weird soup, but yeah, I'd love to see you there.
Time is a weird soup. Thank you, Fern. uh, well, thank you again, Dom, for joining me. This has been super fun.
Yeah,
And
anytime.
thank you to everyone out there listening and everyone in chat for joining us, being patient with our technical difficulties. I hope you've enjoyed your stay at Goodberry Cafe, and I hope you'll join us again. I am taking a little break from Goodberry Cafe as I am off to Burning Man next Thursday. So the next Goodberry Cafe won't be until September. But stay tuned for the schedule. We're still figuring that out. But next Monday, you can catch us playing Forging Fates here on this channel at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. Figure out your times from there. Same place. Can't wait to see what happens next in our story. But until then, I encourage you to follow, subscribe to our channel, check out our YouTube, check out our merch, check out our Patreon. But most importantly, I hope you have a very good night. And thanks for being here.